first of all, I don't know where we'd have been over the last couple of months if it wasn't for Deadline magazine. Now, a lot of Doctor Who fans have never really heard of Deadline until quite recently, I think, because it's one of those organs, I suppose, based in the States, geared around mainstream media, sort of film and TV more so, and it's owned by the people who own The Hollywood Reporter and Variety and various magazines like that. So it's a bit of a standard. It's not Geeky Press, it's not SFX or Doctor Who magazine, but in the last couple of months, they've run a couple of articles, and they're back at it with Doctor Who again. So it's Deadline. They've asked a representative from Disney specifically about Doctor Who. Disney have been very difficult to nail down on this subject, perhaps for understandable reasons. But earlier this week, there was the Edinburgh TV Festival, where figures from the TV industry congregate in Edinburgh to generally, I suppose, to flog their wares and to talk about their craft, Simon. It sounds like a big deal.
Oh, it's a very big deal. Yeah, I've been a few times back in the day. Yeah, if you're in the industry, you will, at some point, you will end up going to the Edinburgh TV Festival. It's not really desperately well known. Obviously, it's the Fringe Festival that people think of, the theatre festival that people think of in Edinburgh. But yeah, the TV Festival, it's much more industry orientated. And so, yeah, if you're in TV, at some point, you will end up going to the TV Festival in Edinburgh. It's good. It's good fun. It's good fun.
Oh, I see. Because we do know that Disney haven't really spoken much about Doctor Who since they've had it. So yes, earlier this summer, it was Disney that hosted the first season of this sort of soft reboot of Doctor Who, the third iteration of Doctor Who, on their global streaming platform Disney Plus. And it was nearly 2 years ago that BBC Studios announced that the new version of Doctor Who would be there all over the world, apart from in the UK and Ireland, where it was still going to be on the BBC. Now, due to somewhat underwhelming domestic ratings, the fan base and allegedly investors too have been asking questions about this partnership since the season premiered when was that? Was that late May? This has been the question that, okay, we have no entitlement to know the answer to these questions. We're not in the industry. But these are the things that fans fixate on, and the BBC have given us sort of stock answers, as you would expect. But many of us have quite reasonably been wondering, Charlotte, with those ratings looking as increasingly slim as they are, okay, the BBC may still own the intellectual property, it's theirs, but how long will it remain viable and beneficial for Disney to remain Doctor Who's global streaming partners? It's a perfectly reasonable question to ask, isn't it?
Especially as especially in the newer run, this was the first time we'd had a proper international partnership sort of attached to the brand. I know it's sort of been done a little bit before with obviously the movie, famously the Paul McGann movie, but this was the first time we had a big sort of, here's a big streamer, here's a big brand, which is American, sort of attaching itself to Doctor Who. So I think it was very reasonable that we were all interested. How's it done on their end? Has it impressed on their sort of what they wanted out of the money they clearly put into this? Because certain shots, certain bits of the episodes, you could see the clear investment from abroad that went into this series.
Are you a Disney Plus customer, Dwayne?
Yes, but not for much longer, I don't think. There's interesting comments in Deadline, which I'm sure you'll bring up. Which I've got thoughts about Disney, because I know they have a tendency to even buy the rights to certain IPs and not do anything with them just so no one else has got them, and that concerns me a little bit with Disney, because they've tied up all the rights for distribution or not distribution or streaming rights worldwide, and there's lots of.
Well, we can't get anything Disney here related, can we? Now, we can't even get DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. So,
no, that's right. Yeah. So, but as far as the TV show itself goes, they're saying, "Oh, now we've got a global audience." Well, it always was global. I don't quite understand what's so different now? It's just under one umbrella now everywhere, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing.
How do you think it's having a global streaming platform home? Has it affected its profile in your territory? Because, you know, I've asked Matt this question, and he's, you're very much in the negative on that, aren't you, Matt? But what's your perception of it, Dwayne? Is it the same for you, that it's not raised Doctor Who's profile and not lowered it either?
Well, we put it to our live audience, because we often have discussions that we record with our live audiences to play on the podcast, and put that question to them, what do you think about it being on Disney? No one in Australia likes it. They feel there's a bit of a disloyalty there by the BBC to just drop the ABC after so long. And I should mention that, don't forget, the ABC did contribute a lot to the Five Doctors as well. So
very much so.
Partnerships in the past that you know, a pretty long-term relationship with Australia that was just dumped. So a lot of people, a lot of fans I've noticed are a little bit annoyed with that, but the general audience just isn't there like it used to be anymore. I used to, when New Who was at its peak, you could go anywhere to shops anywhere, even here in Tasmania, Matt, and you'd see merchandise everywhere, and there would be people. It would be on the front of people's minds. Doctor Who is now so far back in people's minds. It's not even
really
hardly remembered.
And it's exactly the same here, Dwayne. Exactly the same.
You'd have to be on a really good day to get some really good merchandise, because there was always, you know, like a Donna or something left over on the pegs, you know, a Donna action figure or something, you know, something that you didn't want. All the Doctors were always taken, or a Cyberman or something. So, you know, it's... So,
Dwayne, would you say the idea of this being a relaunch hasn't really landed like it should have? This idea of it being a fresh start, like they were trying to market here, especially at times.
Absolutely not. You put on Disney Plus, and you have to actually go looking for Doctor Who. It doesn't come up anywhere. You've got, you know, I would have expected it to be like have its own little section that was easy to navigate to. It's not. It's just kind of there in the background. If you know, you have to go looking for it to even know it's there.
And of course, the truth of it is, I think, Dwayne, had it been a success on Disney Plus, you can bet it would be on the home screen. It'd be front and center, because they'd be trumpeting about it and plugging further if it had been a success. So that, to me, speaks volumes. Well, that tells you whether it's been a success or not.
Absolutely, we're big Bluey fans here at Type 40 Live.
I did see a difference with the advertising between here in Australia between Disney's owned Star Wars, recently, that latest show, and Doctor Who, in that there was no Doctor Who advertising, but there was plenty for the Star Wars. So they must be pushing their own. All over it. Yeah.
Lots of people in the live chat here are co-signing on your assertion that it was quite disrespectful of them to ditch the ABC in your territory after all those decades.
I think it shocked the ABC too, to be honest.
I got the impression that it did as well. We had a quote from ABC at the time, and whilst it was professional, there was diplomatic. A hint. Yeah, diplomatic is the word. Yeah, there was a hint about it. I don't know if they were at the Edinburgh TV Festival as well.
We've sort of said this before. When it came to like the timing in the UK, it got put out, the whole midnight release stuff. There's just so many of the moves on the run-up just felt like disrespect, didn't it, in different quadrants to different groups almost. It was like, we'll do this for this group to annoy them, then we'll do this to this group to annoy them.
So I think it's good that even though the BBC have got their stock answers, which the specialist press, magazines like SFX, are quite happy to sort of repeat party lines about. And I can understand why, because they get a certain amount of access. Deadline don't seem fazed by that at all. And they've gone with this headline this week: Disney chief backs Doctor Who as really good fit after Ncuti Gatwa's first season. And this comes from Edinburgh in a piece written by Jake Cantor. Now, Deadline have not been shy in asking difficult questions about Doctor Who and putting out reports that were contentious over the last couple of months. So they haven't been on script at all. But the fact that they're reporting on this, on the words of one particular Disney executive at this event, I think we have to take this pretty seriously, and we're in reasonable faith. So the person that was on stage, let me get his name right, is this guy. So it's Liam Keelan, and here he is. There he is, look. And he's all smiles there, chatting away. But he simply said, when asked specifically about Doctor Who is a fabulous series. Obviously, in the UK, it's fully BBC, rightly so. We take rest of the world rights. But really, really happy to have it. I think just the quirkiness of it, the fact that it's in the sci-fi world, and when you think about what Disney offers in other regards, I think it feels like a really good fit to me. I mean, it's great to have it. So there's not much there in some respects, but what there is pretty warm and receptive. And I think you have to take things like this, even though this is at an industry event. What is he going to say? He could have just ducked the question, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's an understandably diplomatic answer. But to be fair, it's quite on the nose. He's being very direct. He's saying that they're absolutely delighted to have it. The one thing that stands out for me with this comment, though, is that it remains very corporate. It isn't desperately from the heart. It's coming from his corporate heart, I feel. And what he's not saying is, we absolutely love what Doctor Who was, the Doctor Who that we had presented to us this year. We were made up with it. We think it was brilliant television. We were proud to show it. It's cracking TV, and it's brilliant for Disney to have it. What he's saying all the way through is Doctor Who is a good fit for Disney. And in that respect, he's not a million miles off, given what Disney's output is these days. So it still feels to me quite a sort of guarded answer, because it's just basically saying it's a good fit for us, rather than, wow, we absolutely love this version of Doctor Who that we've been given.
What that says to me,
and blah blah blah.
What that says to me, and I think we said this before, like, when it comes to your platforms, whatever streaming you want variety, you want different kind of shows on your streaming platform. And they don't have a lot of sci-fi, really. They have Star Wars, that's about it. Yes. And even that is increasingly becoming less and less sci-fi from what I've heard. So Doctor Who as a concept, as an IP, that's what this is telling
That's
me.
What he's saying.
He's saying as an IP in itself, not the actual episodes, but as an IP, it's good for variety reasons.
And I say he's correct.
Oh yeah, and he's completely correct in that, and he's not lying.
So it's a safe. This is why I'm looking at it. It's a safe answer, truth be told.
I have to take this, and I know this has been received with cynicism by some people. I think we have to take this with reasonably good faith. Although the guy is in his shirt sleeves there. He's just dressed pretty casually. This is a corporate event. Yes, he's come. I'm sure he's aware of the importance, the significance of Doctor Who in Britain up to a point. But I think it's also quite likely that he's not aware that these comments would make it through to shows like this and to the fan press and to social media groups. He wouldn't know. He wouldn't care that we're going to pick over all of this. So on one hand, why would he lie? If he's there in a room full of his peers, Simon, he could perhaps speak a little more frankly, a little more modestly, and the people in that scenario I feel they wouldn't necessarily think bad of him. There's only so much front that one would have to put on in that sort of scenario.
Yeah, but you're talking Disney Plus, Dan. They don't say anything that hasn't, you know, they're approving this in their own brains because they know they've got to say the correct thing irrespective of what they're saying. So I don't think Disney would ever, and I wouldn't really necessarily expect them to be sort of frank, even within a room of their own peers. Why, if whatever the success or failure or otherwise of Doctor Who on Disney Plus, why would they really want to downplay it in any way. They would still want to be singing about it to their peers, saying, you know, we made the right choice, and so this is the right thing for Disney Plus to do. So it still feels, I honestly don't feel it's coming from his heart. It might be, he might truly absolutely love this show. I don't get the feeling from that statement that he loves the show.
I'd be surprised if he's actually watched it.
That's what I'm thinking.
But as a corporate line, you know, they could have said a lot less.
It could have done.
One of many shows, because he was on stage for quite a long time. There were, you know, this wasn't all about Doctor Who. Doctor Who was one of a dozen things that they talked about. So I actually think that regardless of whatever us think about the success or not of this year's Doctor Who, I think this could be a lot worse, and there's a time to put the boot in, and a time to just accept things at face value, and think that they seem to. Okay, he's not giving anything away about how long they're going to have it for, how long they're going to be invested in it, but for now.
Well, but also the other thing that crucially to me that is missing from this statement is how successful it was on Disney Plus. If it had been hugely successful with fantastic viewing figures, he would have been singing about that and saying, you know, everybody's loved it. It's been well received by the viewership, and so it's a success from that point of view. And there's none of that whatsoever. As I say, all he basically is saying is, look, Doctor Who is a fabulous series. What he's basically saying there is, yeah, it's been around for 61 years, and he's correct. Doctor Who is a fabulous series of 61 years. And so he's just saying it's a good fit for Disney Plus to have that on our platform.
He gave nothing away as regards value.
No.
But he was saying one of the positive aspects for it, and that is one of the positives for Disney. You can't escape that. Also, if you think about it, it's technically a high production show, which they don't have to make. They don't have to organize. Yeah. They don't have to hire. And it just gets delivered to them. So whatever the viewing figures are, which we'll never know, there's always going to be there's always going to be positives for Disney. Yeah. And I think he's just talking about the IP sense and what it can do as part of a streaming service, which is a positive. And that doesn't
and fair dues to him. You can't criticize him for that.
No, that's what I'm saying. And as a stream, and like that's one way that it's actually very normal to talk about it in that sense. Not everything, and I think we've said this before.
Because this wasn't a convention.
Yes, but not everything has to be about viewing figures. Shows have different facets of them, which serve different things for the people that make them. Whether that's a content part, whether that's for IP, whether that's for just having something on the streaming service. There's lots of aspects more than just
I very much doubt, Charlotte, that anybody on stage at that Edinburgh TV festival discussed any kind of ratings, any of those kind of quantities at all, simply because they're all in the same industry, and it'd be showing your hand almost. So we got that quote there from Liam Keelan there from Disney, Dwayne. I mean, is this just a corporate line? I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, the line that stood out to me was the final words that he said. It's great to have it. And it made me think back to a BBC series from the 80s that I loved called The Tripods. And they famously only made 2 series out of 3.
Correct.
And so fans have been screaming out for that trilogy of books to be remade somehow. Yeah. But it can't be done because Disney owns the rights to that. They bought that IP.
Oh, do they?
And they just have it sitting there, not doing anything with it. So, and I believe it's not the only thing that they have that kind of arrangement. They bought the rights to it and they just don't do anything with it, so no one else can.
That's
and
nice.
It made me think, well, that's what they did with the rights to stream Doctor Who. They've got it all around the world, so no one else can. That was my.
So what you're saying, Dwayne, you're seeing Disney Plus as a bit of a sort of a collector. You know, it's a cash grab in effect, is what you're saying. It's just
an IP.
We've got it so nobody else can have it. Anybody think they want to take over the world? I'm sure that can't be true.
Obviously, looking to the BBC themselves, they have a presence at these sort of events as well. They fancy themselves as world players. They're not really. They do their little dance and they've got their various their heads, their talking heads, I should say, but they never really convince anybody, in my opinion. Deadline, of course, earlier on in the summer, they published an analysis, didn't they, where they revealed all the speculation about Disney's long-term commitment to the show, and we debated pretty much every line of that. The whole idea that the deal, I think it was a monumental deal, really. I don't think a deal of that size on a property like Doctor Who has ever been done in that way before, and Deadline were all over it. But as regards this, they have signed off with the Disney chief did not commit to renewing the BBC co-production deal beyond next year's season, which is overseen by showrunner Russell T Davies. So it's a restatement of the fact that they reported way back in, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, wasn't it? So say late July.
So isn't this so strange that on the one hand Disney is saying it's a perfect fit, they're so happy to have it, they love having it, but we're not sure how much longer we're going to keep having it for. That's just a complete dichotomy. It's a contradiction. Yeah. If you love it, you're going to want to keep hold of it. So you'd be announcing we hope to keep streaming it as long as possible, as long as the BBC co-production still works. We want to keep doing it, but they won't commit to that. It's bizarre.
I think it feels like so much that we're in this stalemate again, which is just crazy after one series of a new era. I feel like we've sort of gone, in some aspects, straight back to the sort of feel a little bit with the Jodie run, which is that uncertainty and what's going to happen. Definite
uncertainty in the air. Yeah,
and
it's unmistakable.
And it's weird that it's got back to that quickly, and I just think I think that's the sort of, for me, that's the sign that it hasn't worked so far and that stuff needs to change, that we can't have another series next year, that at the end of it, we are still having these questions. We're still
to be fair, to be reasonable, we live in very uncertain times for a number of reasons, economically and as regards intellectual properties. But even so, there is an aroma coming off this, an uncertainty which it's difficult for fans of something like Doctor Who to live with. I completely understand why Disney are not going to be in any rush to address this in any way. Only a fraction, so around a third of the material that they are all in for has actually been broadcast, been premiered. So regardless of what they're thinking behind closed doors, their projections and the cut-off points that they may have, there's still so much that's banked up that they've got to throw their all behind up to a point. Why talk about it now? Nobody would be pushing them to talk about the status of other shows in similar situations this far before the deal is up, because the last of this material, the spin-off, which we're going to talk about again in a few minutes, the spin-off's not due to be broadcast till 2026. That's part of this deal. I believe that they are involved in the third season, so they could potentially be involved for another 3 years. In which case, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it then, Matt. I think this is partly because, understandably, I'm not fan shaming at all. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, but I do think that we have to sometimes bring our necks back in and remember that although we want to know everything yesterday, there's certain things that are reasonable, certain things that are less so. What do you think?
I think the tell will be when they start the second series and the advertising that they put behind this one. So the second series. Like they did with season 1, they put quite a lot of money into it, and you could see it in America. I'm meaning,
yeah.
I don't think a bus counts in England. So
posters and stuff all over Disneyland and things like that. It looked pretty big, and the New York subway.
For goodness' sake, who'd have ever thought? But yeah, I think that will be the tell as to whether or not they've got confidence in this. I mean, they've still got another second series. They're not going, and that's already been filmed, and it's going to be on there. So they're not going to say anything negative, are they? They're just like they want eyes on TV screens, and then if they're going to be negative,
as we talked about last week, Matt, they're so far ahead of the broadcast of season 2 of Doctor Who. It does look like that's not going to broadcast until maybe next autumn now. They've got an extended period of time where they can tinker with that, with the material that they've got to re-edit it, maybe alter the tone and the look of it, film and write extra material if need be. There's a long time in between now and then for things to be kind of, if not completely worked out. Obviously, results are going to vary. I'm not going to say you're going to be happy. I'm not going to claim that I'm going to be 100% happy. But there is time in between, and every other incarnation of the show, with the exception of the Whittaker era, did take that time to tinker in its earliest days. I'll
tell you what, Dan, it's going to be a hell of a tinker because they've got a lot of ground to cover. I can tell you that.
Though that's the beauty of it. It could be the saving grace of the fact they're only making 8 in one run, Dwayne. It's less to sort of mess around with. Stephen Braddock says, I don't think Disney are to blame. To be fair. Well, actually, no. Some of the key decisions that have harmed it this year have been a direct result of Disney interference. But I have to agree with you. I think most of the blame still must be laid at Russell T Davies' door, because these are conditions that he agreed to work within. And so it's his judgment that's at fault.
And it was his writing at the end of the day.
Yes.
That sort of was the death knell for that series.
Yes.
Dom Ghost says Doctor Who isn't sci-fi anymore either. Well, I'd argue that it was fantasy. It's fantasy rather than sci-fi. Sometimes it's sci-fi, sometimes it isn't. But again, what is it, Dom Ghost? So if it's not sci-fi, what is it? I mean, let's still say it qualifies as a sci-fi show. Dwayne? I mean,
it doesn't matter really what it is.
It's Doctor Who.
As far as a category goes, it's just got to be a good story and entertain, and be good escapism. That's all it's got to be. Doesn't matter what category you put it in my view.
That's very, very true. Doctor Who is sort of a category all of its own, you could say. Anthony Parkinson reminds us that Disney were publicly championing the Acolyte until they cancelled it. Anthony, you're absolutely right. Of course they were. Fantasy is easier to write because magic can conjure up anything. A boon for poor writers. I think we've seen all shows lean into that more so of late. Time travel in Star Trek, which was a very rare thing. Now they're doing it all the bloody time.
I think, in all honesty, I'd argue that science fiction is very much the same as well. You just need to write some gobbledygook about some contraption that you put together in sci-fi, and again, it works the same as magic in fantasy. So
and as long as your own logic makes sense in the episode, I think pretty much you're all right. Like,
as long as it's got its own internal logic, you're okay.
As long as you don't make stuff up, which happened a bit.
Michael Q says, sometimes I wish the BBC just gave Doctor Who to Warner Brothers instead of Disney. Even Warner Brothers is going through problems now. Warner Discovery,
they've got many issues
rolling into something else. Charlotte, I lose track of who's buying what. Paramount's been bought by Skydance as well. I just can't keep track of it.
To be fair, at least Disney sort of, for all their issues, and I know there's plenty of issues, they're sort of still one behemoth by themselves, whereas everybody else, you're right, they're splitting up, they go into other places, they're getting bought up. It's very volatile, like you were sort of alluding to before.
Yeah, it is. You have definitely flushed out the tripods massive, Dwayne, in the live chat. Richard Brooks, for one. And several people, in fact, talking about the tripods gone 30-odd years, but clearly not forgotten by Peter Harrington either. It's a deep wound that was never finished off. So maybe somebody can do it with AI. Ian Levine, if you're watching. Make us the third season of the tripods, mate. We've got Bluey fans turning up as well. Bluey is what Disney wanted. They couldn't give a toss about Doctor Who. I know that's a narrative out there. I've addressed this before. That's goofy culture war nonsense. Of course they wanted Doctor Who. Bluey is one of the biggest shows in the world, but their involvement with Doctor Who did not hinge on Bluey. That's silliness, quite frankly. I know it's amusing, but it's not true. We've got Mark Milford in the live chat here, says Disney has 11 billion loss in streaming. Yeah, Disney Plus itself is a bit of a lame duck. It's not doing what they imagined, Charlotte. It's not Netflix, and I don't think it's even an Amazon Prime.
I think it's like they're only just starting to make any sort of profit on. Even then, it's still technically like losing money. So yeah, that's why, to be fair, I can see Disney pushing for a direction change as well, not just the BBC, because of the streaming state it's currently in.
As you know, I'm cancelling my subscription because I had an annual subscription with Disney Plus, and after this year, I'm done with it. When I was going through the unsubscription things, it actually offered me a cheaper deal. Even that's not going to work. But they've actually increased the price from $140 Australian to $180 Australian for
bloody hell.
Year. And yeah, that is a big leap.
That
and
does
I'm
seem
like,
a lot.
no, definitely not. And so, yeah, it obviously, I think that they have an advertising tier as well, so you actually get adverts during it, and that may be the bump that Disney Plus is getting a revenue from.
Yeah, I know they've done some
the
changes to make profit, basically, a little bit for them.
And obviously, I think it's the advertising within the actual Disney Plus that it's actually.
Got a comment here from Graham Dawson in the live chat, Matt, which I can't even comment on. That could be classified as anti-establishment rhetoric, and heaven knows where that could end.
Could be treason.
Stop me. Cliff Maxwell's joined us there in the live chat on YouTube. Hi, Cliff. It's been a few weeks since I've seen you. I've said before that Doctor Who is its own thing, science fantasy. I like that, science fantasy, as long as it sticks to its own realities.
Correct.
And that's been the problem for years. Just no internal logic, and this idea that it's Doctor Who cares? Which
you
of course
can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that kind of complacency. That is also the last sort of hiding place of a poor writer, I feel, Simon.
I agree. 100%, totally. That's what we've always said. Once you start to get sloppy, it's clearly you've run out of ideas, and that's what seems to be happening.
I miss those old studio-based Alien Planet sets, says Paul Richardson. The new stuff has no charm. Three-wall sets, Matt, that could be the way to go. Go back there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally with that.
I'm not gonna lie. I did have a moment after that first series we just had, being like, oh, did we not get a quarry in any episode? I sort of missed having a quarry.
Yeah, everybody misses a quarry. And Peter Harrington says, I used to tinker and fiddle, but it just made it worse. Yeah, you could very well go blind, mate.
Get some cream for that, Peter.
Yeah, so head over to Deadline and read that article there in full. I'm glad that Deadline are sort of on the case with Doctor Who, and I think we're going to read some things that we like and some things that we don't like, but I think they are asking the right questions and reporting in a pretty even way, generally speaking, in a way that we're not going to get, certainly from any licensed magazines or anybody who, with the best will in the world, has access. Nothing against those publications. They're all run by guys and they're nice guys I've had some sort of contact with, I've exchanged messages with. They all seem like nice people. But Deadline are not answering to anybody over that, so I'm more likely to believe and to believe them.